Aston Martin will finally debut their brand new hypercar this year, as the British manufacturer becomes the next brand to join the hypercar and GTP categories. But what are the details of this new prototype entry? Like the car's engine, the team running the entries, and when it will make its competitive debut? Well, that's exactly what I'll break down in this video, as this is all the information on Aston Martin's new entry, as the newest arrival to the prototype grids of the WEC and IMSA. So first off, let's get straight into the details of this prototype itself. The entry was developed by Multimatic and Aston Martin Racing for participation in top-level sports car endurance races like the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Meanwhile, the car's name is referred to as the Aston Martin Valkyrie AMR-LMH. As it says in the name, the car is built around the Le Mans Hypercar regulations and not LMDH, and the prototype entry will start its racing journey by competing simultaneously in both championships of the WEC and IMSA in 2025. This iteration of Aston Martin's latest prototype car will feature a carbon fiber chassis, no hybrid component unlike the road variant, and a Cosworth-built 6.5-liter naturally aspirated V12 engine. And I can assure you that this entry will definitely make some noise when it competes. Just listen to this hypercar flying around the track. Interestingly, Aston Martin was actually one of the first car constructors to commit to the regulations of LMH, as back in 2019, the company announced plans to join the hypercar class with the Valkyrie for the first year in 2021, alongside the likes of Toyota and Glickenhaus. However, Aston Martin unfortunately chose to pause the program, as their plans to join Formula 1 in the same year interfered with their participation in the hypercar category. 3 years after pausing the program though, Aston Martin confirmed in 2023 that they would be joining the hypercar and GTP grids in 2025, which would mean that we would finally get to see their Valkyrie compete in endurance racing competition. The Valkyrie AMR-LMH will also be setting some records once it makes its debut. The car will be the first entry entered by a British car manufacturer, and it will be the first car to be derived from a road variant of a manufacturer's model, in this case Aston Martin's high-performance Valkyrie hypercar, that can be purchased for, you guessed it, a large amount of money. The car is also the first entry to join hypercar and GTP that will utilize a V12 engine, as all the other entries are using V6 and V8 engines. And finally, it will be the first entry participating in IMSA to be based around the Le Mans hypercar regulations, as up until this point, no other LMH cars like the Toyota GR010 or the Ferrari 499P have made the transition to GTP racing in North America. With Aston Martin entering this car in 2025, this marks the British manufacturer's return to fight for overall victory at Le Mans, and their comeback to prototype endurance racing for the first time in 11 years. Aston Martin has quite the history in endurance racing, and when it comes to Le Mans, they made their debut at the classic French endurance race in 1928, and won their first in-class victory 3 years later in 1931. Aston actually didn't end up winning the 24 Hours of Le Mans overall until the end of the decade of the 1950s, as after many years of trying, especially with the DB3S, Aston Martin finally took overall victory in 1959, with Carroll Shelby and Roy Salvadori taking victory in the DBR1, with a second Aston Martin finishing runner-up in second to complete a 1-2 result at Le Sarthe. Aston Martin entered prototype racing for the very first time in 1989, with a Group C car called the AMR-1, but that program was short-lived, and Aston Martin didn't return to prototype racing until 2009 in partnership with Lola and ProDrive, with a car called the BO9/60. Over 3 years, the Lola Aston Martins picked up 9 wins, and the 2009 Le Mans Series Championship as well. But for 2011, Aston Martin made the transition to a new car, named the AMR-1, not to be confused with the Group C model though, which resembles a similar name. Unfortunately though, the car was a total disaster, and it only entered 2 races, which were that year's 6 Hours of Le Castellet and the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Back to the Le Mans Hypercar though, and it's very important to remember that the team running Aston Martin's cars will be the Heart of Racing team, which has already been running the Vantage GT3 entries from the British manufacturer in both IMSA and the WEC. And for 2025, they will expand to run in both prototype and GT racing. During 2025, 3 Valkyrie AMR-LMH cars will be entered by this American-based team. 2 of them will race in the World Endurance Championship, and they'll use the numbers 007 and 009, as of course a reference to the James Bond franchise and Aston Martin's racing history. And 1 will race full-time in IMSA, badged with the number 23. So far, the full driver lineups haven't been released as of yet, but we do know for a fact that Alex Riberas and Harry Tinknell will be driving the WEC cars this year. For 2025, the car will make its international racing debut at the Qatar 1812 km, which is the WEC season opener, and the car will continue to race in every single WEC event after Qatar, which includes, of course, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Where over in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Series, the car will come at the 12 Hours of Sebring event in March, but won't make an appearance at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. After Sebring, the Valkyrie AMR-LMH will continue to race in every single GTP event for the remainder of 2025. So that was the breakdown of the newest arrival to the WEC and IMSA grids in 2025, the Aston Martin Valkyrie AMR-LMH. Before I conclude this video though, I do want to know what you think about this brand new Le Mans Hypercar coming this year. Are you excited to see Aston Martin back in prototype racing? And how will their new car perform during the first year? Well, as always, make sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like endurance racing, definitely subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because I'm releasing videos on a weekly basis regarding the WEC, IMSA, Intercontinental GT, and much more. To watch more content now, check out these suggested videos I've put on screen. For now though, that's all from me. Thanks for watching.